Today I'm going to plant something that I'm admittedly not that great at growing. Herbs. And so we've got these guys here. We grew out in one of our 162 trays and they're ready to go in the ground. Now in the past I've grown plenty of herbs in containers up around the house there. The wife likes to have a few she can walk outside and pick off of real quick, but I've rarely actually grown them in rows in the vegetable garden, with the exception of doing a few rows of cilantro here and there. Really never grown a lot of herbs in the vegetable garden. One time I even thought about making a little herb raised bed just to keep beside the vegetable garden and just plant herbs in it. Haven't took the plunge on that yet. May do that eventually, but today we're going to get these in the garden, plant them alongside some of our vegetables in there. And herbs aren't that hard to grow, but my problem has always been timing. I plant some of these things like basil or cilantro and I get them in the ground, and the next thing you know they're bolting already. So my timing on my herb planting hasn't always been that great, but I guess there's only one way to really learn to get better at it, and that's to keep plugging away and trying different things. And so here goes nothing. And so we got 4 different varieties of herbs here. We got Italian basil, Thai basil, garlic chives, and cilantro. And these probably could have been planted a week or so ago, but I'm just now getting around to it today. That one is a little root wrap, but shouldn't be too bad. We still got those roots all growing downward there, which is nice to see. Put him back in there. Thai basil is not quite as far along as the others. That Italian basil seems to germinate and get going a little quicker. Our garlic chives, I'm going to have to fish them out a little bit. They don't have a completely developed root ball yet, but I think we can still plant them. And our cilantro here, we tug on this guy, you can see it is ready to go as well. But before we stick those herbs in the ground, let's go take a look at this plot where we're going to be putting them and check on the progress of some of this other stuff that we planted a couple videos ago. So here's where we're going to be putting our row of herbs, right alongside that row of Brussels sprouts. So in a previous video we transplanted this stuff in here and it's already started growing good, especially these collards right here. Those things are taking off fast. Hardly zero transplant shock. Gave them some good water and we got a good rain this weekend, and man, they're just taking off. Same thing with the Brussels sprouts here. Those puppies are looking good, both varieties, the Jade Cross and the Catskill. Our kale here as well, putting on new leaves, growing fast. Got our lacinato kale there, and then our blue night kale here, our kind of frilly kale, had 100% transplant survival as far as I can tell, which is always a good thing. Everything's in here doing well, kicking along, and it won't be long before we can get some groceries off some of these. And then on the end of this plot we got our 2 double rows of carrots that we planted in a different video than when we planted those transplants there. And carrots take a little while to germinate, but these guys are up. As you can see here, we've got some Bolero orange carrots, Envy orange, some yellow bunch, yellow carrots, and then purple elite carrots in here. And the trick to getting these guys to germinate like this is to keep that soil moist. We've got that drip tape buried between that double row there, and we just let it run for a while after planting overnight and just kind of soak that seed bed, keep everything nice and moist for good germination. Now we won't thin these guys. I like to plant them thick and leave them thick. Get some nice foliage there, cover that gap between those double rows. Super happy with my carrot germination, and just takes a little patience, about 7 to 10 days sometimes to get up and going. But once they get up and going, you better watch out. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we got a good little bit of rain over the weekend, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, depending on which rain gauge you're looking at. And it's just now dry enough for me to get in here and do a little light cultivation. I want to do that before we plant our herbs. So I'm going to show you the tools I like to use to cultivate those double rows of carrots and then in between these vegetable rows. We're going to start out with this guy right here, which is one of my favorite little tools. We call it our single tine cultivator. And it works great for getting between these double rows early on before the foliage can cover that gap and prevent any new weed growth there. So the way we use this tool here is really simple. Although you can use it to break up hard crust, here we're not going to stab at the ground with that sharp point. We're going to turn it on its side here and just use it to lightly kind of scuff that soil there, remove any weeds that are trying to grow there, and that lightly cultivated soil will kind of prevent any new weed growth. So we just skim along down here between the double row. Want to be careful not to get into our carrots. If we get one or two here and there, that's not a big deal. We're just going to scuff it up just like this and keep that nice and clean between that double row. Alright, so we got that space between those two double rows of carrots there scuffed up and weed free. Now I will also use this tool to clean up between these plants here along this road. But these plants here, the stems are still a little tender, and so I don't want to risk damaging any of them, especially since I got 100% survival on my transplants. But in about a week or so, once those stems get stronger, I'll use this same tool and work around these plants here real close to keep that weed free as well. And now I'm going to use my single wheel hoe here with 3 cultivator teeth on it to cultivate between these rows. Kind of give some aeration to that soil that's been packed down by them hard rains. So we're going to zip through here. Won't take long at all. All right. Got a little light cultivation there. Give some air to them roots, keep that soil from crusting over, keep any weeds from thriving in there. Now I know we're here to plant some herbs today, but I just couldn't let myself let that plot be like that and plant something else there without taking care of that first. Got to do your due diligence as far as your weeding goes, and them things will pop after that little light cultivation there and get some air to them roots, and you'll see them take off real quick. Now when that soil is still a little moist like it is now, that's when I like to use this cultivator teeth setup. I also weed with that 12-inch oscillating hoe or my sweeps. If the soil's a little moist, it just kind of scrapes it up in sheets. I like this cultivator teeth to break up after a hard rain. So we'll use that this time like we did after a hard rain, and then next time come in with our oscillating hoe and just alternate back and forth, making sure we do this at least once a week. So now I'm going to jump over 3 feet from that last row there, all these rows here on a 3-foot spacing. Jump over 3 feet right there, make me a little mark, bury me a line of drip tape, hook it up to that main line there, and we'll be ready to plant some herbs. All right, now it's time to plant some herbs. Got a drip tape laid. We got 2 little mini furrows here. I think I'm gonna put all these on double rows, or a double row. Got 4 different varieties, as I mentioned earlier. Regular Italian basil, Thai basil, garlic, chives, and cilantro. So I think I'm just do a double row, go about a 1/4 of the way down the row, switch up to another variety, and just pack all 4 of these in this one row here. I shouldn't need a ton of these, but want to make sure we got plenty. Hopefully with this basil here, I can make me some pizza. I've been thinking about getting a pizza oven. Maybe I can use it for some of that. So some of these I didn't thin in the trays, so I'll just kind of pull that one off there, discard that. I think I'm going to put these about 6 or 8 inches apart and put them in here kind of close. Hopefully we'll get some good foliage on them, and we'll shade out this area between the double row here, give us some good weed suppression there. So start on one side of the double row, then we can work on the other side there too. And I don't have my water on yet because the soil's still a little moist, but we'll probably turn it on this afternoon sometime. Give these puppies a little bit of water so they'll start growing pretty fast. I'm not going to be super exact with my spacing here. Like I said, these things sure do smell good. So we're going to start off with this Italian basil, then we'll move on to some Thai basil, then probably cilantro, and maybe put the chives on the end. All right. We got them in. I didn't necessarily get it equal a quarter of the row of each. I went a little heavy on the Thai basil here, just because I've never grown them before. Interested in trying them. So I got probably more of them than I did the other 3 varieties. Got our cilantro here. And I just didn't have that many transplants of this garlic chives here. But we got enough in there. We'll have us some to eat off of. Maybe make us some leek and potato soup here once it gets cold, and put some of them chives in there. I absolutely love cilantro. I can eat that stuff raw. And looking forward to seeing how that basil does. Hopefully it's cool enough now where this stuff won't be bolting on me too bad. And I know that seems like a lot of herbs, plant a whole row of them like that, but we had the space, we had the transplants. What the hey, we'll give it a go. If you out there like to plant herbs in rows like this in the vegetable garden, let me know, and let me know if you got any tips or tricks to keep them holding on, have a long harvest window. I realize most people do plant these things in containers by the house, but if you do plant them in rows, give me some tips. And so after that row of herbs there has been planted, it looks like we got room for maybe 2 more rows if we're doing them all 3 feet apart like we have been. So we can fit 2 more rows in this plot here, I believe. And if there's something that we carry as a seed that you would like to see me grow right here in these 2 rows, let me know. Whatever it is, I'll probably be direct seeding it, so it would need to be something that does well direct seeded. I was thinking about putting at least 1 row, devote 1 row to some all top turnips, which is a really good turnip variety that just makes greens, really delicious greens. But let me hear from you guys. What would you like to see me put in these last 2 rows here? We can play around, have a little fun with it. Just let me know what you like. I'll put some links below to all these varieties we planted today and the tools we used in this video, so you can go check those out or get put on a wait list to be notified when we do have them back in stock. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that little bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this one, check out these other 2 videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.